Good evening, guys. Welcome to round 4 from Bathurst for the Pure SimGear Super Sprint Sunday off FRL on the PlayStation 5. 2 sprint races tonight of 30 minutes, and we've got 2 tiers in the server tonight, so we've got quite a full grid of around about 29 drivers. So expect to see some carnage tonight, I expect, on top of the mountain. We've got a pretty Bathurst triple header in the FRL this week on the console. We've had it on the Endurance Friday, the Friday just gone. Got it tonight in the Super Sprint. We've also got it on Tuesday as well, on the Taco Tuesday. So by the end of Tuesday night, the drivers should be fully familiar with Bathurst. But cracking race in store tonight. Qualifying's just begun. So we can see which drivers are going to be in the zone, setting those fastest laps. And I'll bring you the standings of the championship very shortly. So guys, in terms of the standings for the championship for Tier 1, the top 3 are Rob 2K, who's currently holding that top spot with 197 points, but only 3 points behind him in position 2 in the standings is EOS Storico, and then behind him is Moss. So the gap covering the top 3 is 52 points between Rob and Moss, but that is the top 3 in the standings. We then have David Jr. in 4th, King of the Hills in 5th, Jet Packet in 6th, Marty, who I believe is missing tonight, 7th, 8th is Nico, 9th is Andy, and 10th is Chris. So that is your top 10 from the Pro tier. As I said, the top 3, just remind you there, is Rob, Storico and Moss. Rob and Storico, only 3 points separating those two, so it'll be very interesting to see how they get on tonight. I believe as well Milden is slightly lower than people may expect. I believe there was a car change after round 2. I think he was in the Aston and swapped back to the Merc, correct me if I'm wrong. So as I said briefly a moment ago, we've also got the AM tier in the server tonight. The standings for those guys, just to bring you up to date with them, you've got Das Cool, surprise, surprise, leading the way on 221 points. On a gap of 73 to P2 is Ryan, and then P3 is Palamoid. Key thing to note though, both of those drivers, Ryan and Palamoid, are missing tonight. They're not racing tonight, so Das Cool really got an opportunity to kind of cement almost that top spot after only 4 races. And I believe his practice time, he did top the leaderboards in practice. So certainly keep your eye out for Das Cool in the Ferrari. But to bring you the rest of the top 10 from the Tier 2, you've got Frank in P4, Shadowlancer P5, Jester in P6, Legoman P7, Gulas 22 in P8, Nspecs in 9th, and 10th is MPL. So that's your top 10 from Tier 2. So time to start to come in now. We'll just try and pick up some drivers crossing the start-finish line. We've got David about to either start or finish a lap. He does finish his lap, he goes 5 tenths off P1. We'll just try and pick up some drivers finishing the laps. And we've got Ollie Mack here coming around the final corner. Let's see what time he can set. He goes P9 with that time, as Mega78 comes in with a similar time, as does GT Jamie and Gabri coming in there as well. So the times are starting to roll in thick and fast now. If you're wondering why we've got a bunch of cars in the pits, it's because we've got a split qualifying, as I said, due to the 2 tiers So the first 10 minutes is Pro, second is Am. As we've got King of the Hills finishing his lap, and see where he can slot in the FRLACC Porsche. King of the Hill goes P8, 2.4 seconds off Milden's time of a 2:03.6. For those of you who raced Friday night in the Endurance League, it was a cracking race, 2 hours, and it certainly would be good practice for tonight, as will this be good practice for Tuesday, for the Taku Tuesday. So it's quite interesting. We've got the same track running across 3 different series in the same week. But the drivers should be fairly familiar. Well, the drivers who certainly who partook in the endurance race on Friday night will certainly be used to the track by now. It is an incredible racetrack. I mean, the whole climbing and descending the mountain is just absolutely on the limit. It's all about how close you can get that car to the walls, how much you want to push it. Oh, it's King of the Hill loses it at the descending the mountain there. He's going to have to box to fix that damage, I'd imagine. So, provisional top 3 guys. Ams has just gone with a 2:03.1. Milden just a tenth and a half off his time. We're on board with Milden now to see if he can claim that provisional pole back again. So Milden coming into the chase. If he's up on his time, it looks like he's having a slow end to the lap. Is he backing off? No, it looked like he was a little bit slow into the chase. Oh yeah, he is. He's warming up his tyres. So this is going to be his go fast lap to try and take back pole position. We'll stay with him for this lap as he heads into the first corner of Howes Corner. Along the mountain straight, climbing up to Griffin's Bend. So track conditions so far, guys, as you can see at the top of your screen, 24 degrees air temp, track is 29, track has now gone to optimum as well. I'm not expecting any weather tonight, so it's just going to be dry conditions, I'd imagine. There's a low to medium chance of rain, but I'm looking at the forecast, it is dry at the moment. So Milden coming up to Quarry's Corner. How far can he push that Mercedes? Slight lift off the throttle there. And he's still got a little bit of space on that corner. He's not totally on the limit, I would imagine. There's a little bit too much grass there, and that's going to compromise him down into the dipper. He's probably lost a couple of tenths there, I'd imagine, but he managed to keep it at the wall, which is the important thing. But this is it for Milden, otherwise the pole position will be going to Ams, who is absolutely rapid, it must be said. So down from Forrest's elbow. What can Milden do? As we see the Tier 2 cars lead to start their warm-up laps. So, final corner. Let's see what time the number 1 Mercedes manages to do. And it is improved. It's a green lap, but it's not enough. So under a tenth, 700 seconds there. Unbelievably close to AMS. But that is your provisional. I will say provisional because Tier 2 is still out there. Pole position. Interestingly, in practice, as you'll see here, That's Cool topped it with a 203.4. AMS did a 203.5. And with AMS currently setting a 203.1, That's Cool will have to find a couple of attempts if he wants to take pole. I mean, that would be quite an achievement if he can take pole from Tier 2 driver. So we'll keep our eyes out for That's Cool. As we pick him up here, as he comes to start his lap. In fact, I think he's the first driver going to be across the line, so we'll certainly stick on board with him. He'll be hoping for better luck in the race tonight than he did on Friday. I believe he had a gear shifter failure or something on Friday night, which prevented him from carrying on in the race. So, fingers crossed for him, he's managed to sort that out. And just looking at the qualifying provisional times from Tier 1, what's interesting is P5, P6 and P7, you've got Storico, Moss and Rob. Those are your current top 3 in the championship, so even though they're not separated on the leaderboard, they're certainly not separated on the track either. So that's going to be one to watch if it stays like that after Tier 2 qualifying. You know, some of these drivers, the likes of Das Cool, may get their names in and amongst them in the top 5, so we'll see how it ends, but that's certainly going to be an interesting one to watch as we head into race 1. So that's cool. In the chase, number 4 Ferrari is going to be the first one across the line from Tier 2. Let's see what his first lap is going to be. I assume it's not going to be the purple one of the qualifying session, given the fact that the tyre temp may not be 100% there just yet, but we shall see. As he goes, provisional pole position, that is an absolute staggering time of a 202.6. I don't think anyone else from Tier 2 has got that time in them, personally. I mean, I'm prepared to eat my words if someone else comes out there and smashes that, but I think that is we've just witnessed a pole position time from tonight. It's 5 tenths to AMS. That's an absolute quality lap. I certainly had nowhere near that on Friday night. I wouldn't expect to be either, to be honest. I think I was more around the 205s, I believe. But it's all about the race, isn't it? You know, the qualifying obviously is an important part on some tracks. You know, some tracks compared to others, qualifying is more important. But tonight, with Bathurst, it is all about just survival. It's all well and good being pole, but if you put it in the wall, and it is not going to work out for you, is it? So it is certainly half-hour survival tonight rather than a sprint race. I should have renamed the championship just for tonight only. It's not really a sprint race. It's more of a sprint survival at Bathurst. So who can keep the car clean, keep it out, keep the paintwork scratch free, So let's just pick up some of the other drivers and see what else we've got going on in Tier 2. Interestingly, Jetpacker hasn't set a time this evening. I don't think he's left the pits at all, Jetpacker. So this is Morex in the 99 McLaren. Now, he did quite a quick time in practice, so it'll be interesting to see where he can place this McLaren, but he was fairly quick in practice, and I caught the last 30 minutes of it before I went live on the stream, and he certainly was in the top 5 if I remember correctly. So maybe he could be one to make the commentator eat the words if he puts it on pole. So Morex coming around to finish his lap. This is going to be his first timed lap. Let's see where he can go. I'm optimistic. I'm feeling a top 10 with this time. And it is, it's a P2. I did tell you guys, I did say he was quick in practice. 4 tenths off pole. So we've got, provisionally, bearing in mind we've still got a couple of minutes left, we've got 2 Tier 2 drivers in P1 and P2. That is some impressive time being set there by the Das Call and Morex. I think this is going to shape it up to be a really interesting race. So here we've got coming around to finish their lap. They've got car number 4, which just trying to quickly pick them up. That's cool. Let's see if he can improve on his original time of 202.6. He doesn't. We then have car 321 coming around, which is Frank in the BMW. Currently P14, doesn't improve. Shadow Lancer as well. That BMW looks like it's scraped a bit of a wall there by looking at some of that paintwork at the front of it. So, hello to those watching live. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to click that subscribe button. It will mean a lot to the guys at FRL who put a lot of effort and time into running the leagues. Now we've got Jack Slater as well coming around to finish his lap. Doesn't improve, and N Specs as well. Does he improve? No. Yes, he does. Beg your pardon. He does improve slightly to P23. We have car number 99 coming around. I'm just trying to find out that is Morex. Let's see if he can get any closer to provisional pole. He doesn't, but he has got one more lap in him. I think what we'll do, we'll stay on board with Morex on this lap because this could be it. Let's see if he can improve. So unfortunately on the console we don't have any kind of live lap time data, so we can't tell what his sector times are like. Not without losing the screen anyway. So let's see how he does as Morex comes into the chase. Quickest part of the circuit. Pick your braking zone, flick the car right, pick that braking zone, pull it down into second gear, some cars maybe third. Don't let the car go up too wide, and again, pick your braking spot probably just before the 100 metres, I'd imagine. And down into second gear, throw the car in. What can he do? He does improve, but it's not enough. So that is your grid, guys. You've got Das Cool, pole position with a 202.6. Morex, who is the second tier 2 driver, in P2, 2 tenths off. Ams in P3, Mild in P4, David P5, Rui in 6th, Nico 7th, Storico 8th, Moss 9th, and Rob 10th. So that is your top 10. I'm just trying to see what other tier 2 drivers we've got in the top 10 there. I'll have a look at that in a bit. So P11 is Lego Man, Frank is in 12th, Andy Cray in 13th, Ellis C in 14th, GT Jamie 15th, Chris in 16th, King of the Hills 17th, Lamaro 18th, Naga 78 19th, and Darren is 20th. Let's bring you back to the full timetable. Ollie Mack P21, Captain Beat P22, N-Specs 23rd, Gabri 24th, Shadow Answer 25th, excuse me, MPL 26th, Jax 27th, and Gilas 22 rounding off the grid. So 28 drivers. That is your grid for the 2 races. Interestingly, Rui with a purple sector 1. It's almost 2 tenths quicker than Das Cool on pole. But as you'll see, Das Cool then holds the purple sectors in sector 2 and 3. So, interesting grid for sure, guys. We've got 2 tier 2 drivers on the top 2. It's going to be interesting to see how their race pace is compared to the likes of Ams and Milden. Milden is worth mentioning that he won the endurance race on Friday evening. So, his race pace will be strong around here, but the biggest difference is it's not a 2-hour race, it's a 30-minute sprint. There is no stops. You don't need to stop for fuels, don't need to stop for tyres. So it is just a straight race, battle of survival. Who can keep it out of the walls? And then, as I mentioned about 10 minutes ago, your current top 3 in the Tier 1 Championship, which is Rob, Storico and Moss, as you will see, they're 8th, 9th and 10th. So that's going to be interesting from a championship points point of view, how those 3 drivers get on. So just got a couple of minutes, guys, for the first race. If you haven't already, grab yourself a cup of tea. Get yourself buckled in, ready for race 1 of tonight. I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes. Evening, Mark. You alright? Nice to see you live on the stream, mate. It is, it's certainly a quick time, isn't it? 202.6. I was just looking, actually, thinking where we would be ourselves if we were qualifying tonight. And I personally put us around where Chris is, probably in the lower fives, so P15, P16. That's quite scary. Some seriously rapid drivers on the grid tonight. So we've just got about 40 seconds or so, guys, until the race start of the formation lap. Drivers are just getting their setups sorted, making sure their fuel calculations are right, they've got the right tyre sets on. And hopefully no one forgets to click drive, as I know a couple of drivers, it still amazes me how every race, every week, you still, a couple of drivers get caught out and they end up starting from the pit lane. So they've got 15 seconds to click drive. We should see a couple of cars starting to drop as the settings are applied.
10 seconds.
It's a very good point, Mark. The qualifying is completely different, isn't it? Yeah, it was set. I actually didn't check what time it was in the server. But yes, the qualifying on Friday night was, what, 5 AM, so times will be different. So drivers get away for the start of the formation lap. Probably going to be quite a slow formation lap, few minutes long. As Das call from the tier 2 leader leads them away. I keep saying it, but it is amazing that we've got two tier 2 drivers from the AM tier at the top. They certainly won't be in that tier for next season, that's for sure, considering how rapid they both are. So, lovely sight of the cars as they make their way, starting to climb the famous mountain. And looking at the top 5 as well, you know, the top 10, there's a fairly good mix of manufacturers as well. You've got a couple of Ferraris, and there's a couple of Ferraris, a couple of McLarens, and a couple of Audis. But you've got the Ferrari, you've got the McLaren, you've got Audi, you've got Mercedes, you've got the Bentley as well with Rob. It's nice to see quite a healthy mix of manufacturers as well, representative. Elysium is the lead Porsche in the grid tonight in P14, King of the Hills in the 888 Porsche 17th. Frank, the lead BMW in P12. Track temperature has slightly changed as well. It's now 23 air, 26 track. Forecast is sunshine with clouds, so it's good to go. Drivers know what's in front of them. It's just 30 minutes of pure wall-to-wall racing here at Bathurst for round 4 of the FRL Racing League Pure SimGear Super Sprint Sunday. One to watch will be Jetpacker, the number 25 Lambo, starting from the back. I think by choice, because I don't believe he left the pits during qualifying. So whether he's took that decision to start from the back, I think so. He's certainly a very quick driver, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes on. We'll keep an eye on for him after a couple of laps to see how far he's managed to get himself up to. And I fear for everyone else in the middle of this long train, because The worst place you can be on the opening lap round Bathurst is somewhere in the middle of a pack. Bumper to bumper. But fingers crossed people can keep it clean. People avoid accidents and we all get away cleanly. As the formation lap heads into the chase. That's cool. Probably a little bit too much weaving going on there. Almost lost control of the Ferrari. As they will start going into the Noah's Ark 2x2 formations. We're going to have Ferrari versus McLaren versus Audi versus Mercedes for the top 4. Everyone seems in good order as we come round the final bend. So here we go, guys. 30 minutes, Bathurst, race 1. And they're off. Morlex has got a good start, but Dascour's got the inside. As they come round the first corner, Dascour's gone a little bit wide there, and there's cars probably 3 wide at the back of the grid. Some cars, dirt kicking up. And there's got a little bit of contact at the back of the grid as well, but we'll stay on board with the front runners. We'll find out who that is at the back of the grid shortly. It looks like car 729. We'll find out who that is shortly. As the cars start their climb up the mountain, Dascour leads me away with Morek second, Ams in third, Milden in fourth, David fifth, Rui in sixth, Nico seventh. Everyone's got a really clean start. As the UI is just updating, so please ignore the UI timings on the left hand side of your screen. That is not correct. So Dascour, Moretz leading the field. Milden has managed to get himself up to P3. He's got past Ams. He'll be hunting these two down. As Moretz gets ever so close to that barrier. Captain Beak and Lamaro going side by side there as the field comes down. Lovely sight of all the cars coming down the hill. But lap 1, guys, completed. Dascour has managed to stay in front for the first lap, and he's got a little bit of a gap of 8 tenths. So fastest lap as well so far. So Morex P2, Milden P3, Ams P4, David 5th, Rui 6th, Storico 7th, Rob 8th, Nico 9th and Frank 10th. Moss, I think, has probably been the biggest loser out of all of those, as he drops to 11th. I think biggest loser by a place or 2. And I believe he did start higher than Rob. So, as it looks like we got Frank and Nico there. Frank right on the tail of Nico. This is the battle for the top 10. Absolutely great shots of the cars flying through. This is where it's so dangerous, so if someone makes a mistake, you've got no time to react to any accidents. You just got to fully send the car and fully trust the drivers you're racing with. But this midfield action on lap 2 is certainly close together as they come down Forrest's elbow. So it looks like it was Darren who unfortunately had the trouble at the start, or certainly on lap 1 anyway. So he's currently leading the back of the pack with a Ferrari that looks like it won't pass an MOT. That's a C bodywork. No, it's not looking too bad actually. Maybe it was the shadows. I thought the bodywork was hanging off a little bit, but it's not. As he's right side by side, Jack Slater in the BMW. They're going to go side by side here into the chase. As the camera picks them up, Darren has got past him. Darren makes the move there as he starts making his way back up through the grid. We'll join the leaders again as Milden is right on the back of Morex. And while I wait for Mr. Cameraman to pick him up, and Milden's got the outside, and he's made the move. It's out. Morex goes up the inside, side by side. Oh, that is absolutely fantastic braking there. Morex looked like Milden had the run on him going into the corner, but I think Morex was later on the brakes than the McLaren, and he just took the inside line, and he was like, no, you can wait another lap to get by me. I'm going to take back my P2, thank you very much. Fantastic race between the top two here. Milden having to get on the brakes a little bit just to kind of slow the Mercedes down. It was almost pushing Morex around the corner there. Daskell will be absolutely loving all of this though, while these two squabble away. He'll just be getting that prancing Ferrari down the road. As he's got a gap of just under 3 seconds built, 2.7 to be exact. And while Milden and Morex squabble away, the number 15 Audi, AMS, is looking to join the fight. As we've got Storico and David as well, quite close together. And Frank and Rob. So we've really got quite a lot of action throughout the grid going on, and I'm going to do my best to stay with the closest battles. At the moment it's pretty hard doing that, considering the field is quite together at the moment. Unfortunately guys, also apologies, but I've missed Milden's overtake into the first corner on Morex. He must have made a mistake because AMS is right on the back of him as well. He must have made a mistake on turn 1. That's put him in, lost him position 2, and also got him in trouble with AMS. So they're starting to climb the mountain again. Frank and Rob are really fighting each other there. We see the cars just fly around the corner here. Fantastic camera shot. We'll just stick with this as I pick up the cars coming around. So Frank is really on the back of that number 75 Bentley now. Can he get the run into the chase? The Bentley's quick in a straight line though. So is the Beamer. As he goes to the inside, bit of a late move. So side by side guys, Frank and Rob. Question is, who's going to be the latest in the brakes as Rob has the outside? He's got to widen it, Rob's on the grass. Can he get that car slow down the brake bar as they're going flying everywhere? It looks like he's off to another track. Hopefully, I think he's managed to get it slowed down. He has. He managed to get it slowed down in time and to avoid the barriers, but that's unfortunate. For the championship leader, it must be said, Rob is currently leading the championship, so he's not going to enjoy losing a few places there. As we've got car number 82 in the pits, which is Ollie Mack. That is unfortunate. So we'll draw in the top 4 again to see what's happening, and we've got AMS in the number 15 Audi piling on the pressure onto Morex now. The lead between Daskal and Milden has come down. It was 2.7, it's now 2.5, and more importantly, FRLACC has gone to Milden. So keep your eyes on that gap, guys, because Daskal could be coming under a little bit of pressure. He won't be so cool in that car. Once he sees the number 1 Mercedes in its rear view mirror. Just see where we've got some battles. So we'll join Storico in the 88 Audi. And right on the back of David. Out of Forrest's elbow, down the Conrod straight. I think he's a little bit too far back this lap to make a move in the braking zone of the chase. But we'll pick up Elysium, GT Jamie and Rui, all having a good scrap for the remaining top 10 places. King of the Hills here, right on the back of MPL. And hopefully these two don't do a repeat of what Rob did, dip it on the grass. We're going to make a move in the braking zone now, a little bit too far back. King of the Hills just keeps it nicely behind MPL, line the car up for another go in the next lap. So your top 4 is still as it was on the previous lap. That's AMS keeps the pressure on to Morex, who is now second behind Milden, who the gap has now, to see where it is, want to go through the timings, 2.5, so it's maintained from the last lap. Field is starting to get a little bit more spread out now as the race goes in, as we tick in to, after 12 minutes of racing, we head towards our halfway point. We've got to keep an eye on that gap at the top. It's currently 2.5 between Daskal and Milden. But it's not just between those two, as you'll see Morex and AMS are not far behind, so really anybody out of that top 4 can win the race at the moment. As Daskal is going to be heading up to some traffic. I believe it's Nico. It is. It's Nico from Tier 2 who he's coming up against traffic wise, so hopefully he'll stay out of the way. Chris has had a good start to the race. I think he ran about 16th. He's got to P11. If my memory is correct, that is certainly a good start to the race. As Jetpacker, he's just jumped out to me on the screen. I did say before the race, guys, starting in the back of the grid, let's see where he was after a couple of laps. I must admit, I kind of forgot about it until now. Up to P13. Guys, Jetpacker started from back of the grid. He was P29 as the flag dropped. He's now P13. A cracking drive so far, as he's now going up inside of GT Jamie, and he's already made a move. So that Lamborghini certainly is moving. He's going to be having a fun race. Probably one to watch on the YouTube highlight reel later, as I'm sure he's had plenty of overtakes to watch out for. So gap in top 4 then, it's increased a little bit. It was 2.5 previous lap, now gone up to 2.7. So interesting battle really. The times are clearly swinging, a couple of attempts either way here and there on each lap. But interestingly, Morex has creeped back up to the back of that number one Mercedes and just starting ever so slightly to drop in AMS. So AMS will be looking to keep in touch with these guys. As you can see, that podium position literally just a couple of hundred metres in front of him. But as AMS now, maybe just for the first 5 minutes, wasn't quite in the rhythm, is he now finding the rhythm of the race? Is it starting to come back to him a little bit as the McLaren fuel load gets a little bit less? What can he do? Can he put any pressure on Milden? Storico looking to jump into that top 5 as he's on the back of that number 303 Ferrari of David Jr. As they come out of the exit of House Corner on the mountain straight. Either he's a little bit too far behind to make a move into the Griffin's Bend.
We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
Just saw a slow car there at Griffin's Bend. I thought it was one of the top runners, but it wasn't. I think it was a back marker just keeping nicely tucked out of the way. We've got a car off the track as well out the chase, which is trying to find out which car that is. It's car number 82. Which is Olimac. So he's gone off there at the chase, which has dropped him to P27, I believe. Maybe not, maybe that's not updated yet. He was in the pit, so I think he could be a lap down actually. Now I'll say it. So tier 2 drivers here, bringing some of the action as we join on board with TCR Legoman, who is following MPL. So guys, that gap is now down to 1.8. That's whether Dascall's made a mistake potentially, because it was around about 2.5, 2.7 as you will see. It's now down to 1.8, and the gap between Milden and Morex is also extended. So top 4 have just started to evenly spread out between themselves now. Maybe the drivers are just trying to catch the breath a little bit as they go into the final, approaching the final 10 minutes of race 1. As most of the field are just starting to spread out a little bit now. Looks like we've got a car coming into the pits as well, which is MPL. Must be for damage. And Rob, we're not sure what's happened to Rob here, but Rob's dropped right down to 29th. We saw him go off at the chase a few laps ago. I haven't kept track of him since then. He didn't lose that many positions then, so he must have had a second accident. So the championship leader after 3 rounds, Rob 2K, this is not going to be a good race for him. I hate to say it. As we join Captain Beak, and I'm not sure who that is coming through. It's not for position. Trying to work out who that is behind him. I don't believe it's for position. decent cars here, their bodywork really flapping around as they've had accidents, you know, collisions with the wall. It's car number 16, so it's Andy. I've finally managed to work it out. So it's Andy coming through. So both Andy and Rob, and GT Jamie as well, he's dropped to 29. Really not having good races here from the pro tier. He's managed to get past anyway. So gap to Milden has just stabilised a little bit. It's remained at 1.7 as we head into the final 10 minutes of this race. We join on board with King of the Hills, who is currently fighting for P16 of Gilas. My favourite part of the track here as he started to descend the mountain, come down the dipper. Such an amazing part of the circuit. Oh, Gilas has gone into the wall. That's... oh, he's collected the car, has collected... is that... Gabri he's collected? Car number 525, which is Lego Man. So I think he's collected Lego Man there. Hopefully Lego Man isn't too damaged from that. We've got car 170 going around, which is Gilas again. So he's obviously maybe gone into the wall, come down from Forest Alba and just lost it again on the exit. That's unfortunate, as he was having a fairly solid race, and that Mercedes looks like it's seen better days. So that's cool, lost it. That is the race leader. That is your number 4 Ferrari. He's lost it, and as has Zams. Zams has lost it as well as he's gone straight on. It's all happening here. We've managed to just join on board at the right time. I saw a car going slow, saw Milden overtake it, and it just suddenly dawned on me that is your race leader. That's cool. So all change at the top. So we now have Milden has took the lead. He's getting the flashing lights going as he's come past a back marker. So, not sure what happened there. So we've got Milden P1, Morex in P2, having a cracking drive, it must be said. Ams in third, who looked like he went straight on, as he maybe saw the Ferrari going slow, but then he kind of went sideways as well. And then that's cool, as you'll see the Ferrari paintwork looking rather less up to scratch. So that's cool, unfortunately making a mistake on top of the mountain, which has cost him the lead of this race, and potentially cost him a podium here in race 1. Question is, how much damage has he got? Has he got the pace in that Ferrari to put the pressure on Ams for the final podium position, or is he going to find himself falling more and more back towards David? So, with 6 minutes to go, we have a race lead change, and your race leader is currently Milden, followed by Morex and Ams as your top 3. That's unfortunate for Dascourt, it must be said, he's having a cracking 25 minutes up until then. Unfortunately, we didn't see what happened. We managed to join just on board there, just in time to see the lead change. So he must have damage because David is now all over the back of him. We've now got the battle of the two Ferraris on top of the mountain as they start coming down. He's certainly lost the pace. He's dropped 2.5 seconds behind, and so, as feared, that Ferrari is carrying damage that is hurting the lap time. Question is, what can David do now as they come into the chase? What's the pace like in the straight line? Can he make the move in the braking zone as they go side by side? And he's already got the move done. The straight line speed of that Ferrari, the number 4 Ferrari, shall I say, is just not there after the damage to the aero. So David moves up to P4 and Das drops back to 5th. Let's just see what else we've got going on the grid. We've got, as you see, Das Cool pitting there actually. Or was he not? No, has he dropped it? Surely David has dropped it on the exit of the final corner. As we see Nager come in to make a pit stop. That must be for damage getting repaired because he was 18th. That's going to drop him back a couple of spaces as we see the number 75 Bentley of Rob 2K as well just move up and down. So field is extremely spread out now. You wouldn't think this is a 30-minute sprint race by looking at the field. So he did spin on the exit, did he, Mark? Thank you. I was looking at the map on the bottom right. I wasn't actually looking at the on screen until I looked up and just saw a very slow Ferrari coming out of the final corner. I was like, hang on, was that Das Cool or was that David? Oh no, it's David. So he must have dropped it on the exit. So that's unfortunate for David. That's pointing back to P6 now. Biggest gainer though is Storico, and from a championship perspective that is extremely good for Storico, the 88 Audi, given the fact that Rob, his championship competitor, is currently sat having an ice cream in the pits. Call myself a commentator. Well, I'm only part-time, mate, what can I say? I'm a part-time commentator, part-time racer, part-time commentator. We all can't be professionals, can we? At least I have the courage, mate, to stand up in front of the microphone. Yeah, don't just sit there with a keyboard warrior on YouTube. We're joined on board here with Moss and Rui. It looks like Rui's carrying damage as well. And look who it is, number 25 Lamborghini Jetpacker up into the top 10 from back of the grid. Lambo looks like he's been in a fight with someone though, more likely the barrier, but top 10 so far. And Chris as well, who I believe started 16th or 15th around there, so he's having a good race, bringing that BMW for the FRLACC racing team up into the top 10. So as we head into the final minute of the race, guys, so I'm just trying to keep my eyes on these back markers as we've got a couple of cars going wide here. We've got Rui and we've got a Porsche into the wall. I don't know who that is. Just trying to figure out what's going on there is car number 7, which is Elysium. That is the Porsche that's managed to give himself whiplash in a serious MOT fail into the barrier. So that's going to drop him down the grid. He's clear for now. They've got car number 16 coming up behind him, which is MPL. Just such a hard track to kind of get right consistently, lap after lap. It really is just about survival, and you can make up places just by keeping it clean. I know it sounds simple and it's easier said than done, but it really is a battle for survival out there. So that's his jetpacker. It isn't full position though, as he's got car 525 behind him, which is Lego Man, so this is not full position. But jetpacker is creeping up on the back of Rui, which is the 89 McLaren. That will join on board, considering it's the last lap. Your race leader for race 1. SBR Milden in the number 1 AMG Mercedes, from P4 to provisional race winner. So thus far, with what 4 corners to go, as he comes out of Forest Albo, shortly followed by Morex, which is a couple of seconds behind. Forza Storico, Forza EOS. They've had good races from Storico and Moss. P5 and P7, very good race, good pace from the guys, good points as well for their championship, as both of them currently hold P2 and 3 in the championship. So yes, as we see the flashing lights of the number 1 Mercedes come around the final corner, and this is your race winner for race number 1, SBR Milden. Fantastic win. As we see Morex come round in P2, it's a fantastic result for Morex from the tier 2. And finishes off the podium for top 3, for 3rd position in the Audi. Storico has managed to get himself up to 4th in the late pressure from David. So Storico 4th, David 5th, that's cool, unfortunately in 6th. That Ferrari looks like it's going to need a paint job between now and the start of race 2. Moss currently in 7th. This is not for position. We've got 2 BMWs fighting each other. I don't know who they are, it must be said. Apologies for not knowing every single car, but Moss comes home in P7. Jetpacker from the back of the grid to come home in P8. It's a fantastic result for Jetpacker in the Lamborghini. Chris in 9th. Again, cracking drive from Chris in the BMW. And we're going to have Rui coming home slowly in potentially 10th, but that again looks like a McLaren who's had a lot of face time with a barrier, as he's struggling to even keep it straight. Fortunately for him, car number 14, which is P11 N-Specs, is still a few seconds behind. So Rui creeps home, coming home like how I would after a night out on town, all over the place, down the road. Comes home in 10th. Rui in 11th. King of the Hills here will be P12. So that is your results, guys, for race number 1 here on the Super Sprint Sunday at Bathurst. Rob's managed to just pick out a couple of drivers. Rob's managed to kind of claw back a couple of places in that race, either due to other accidents. He was at one point back at the grid, but he's managed to get himself 23rd there. But that was certainly a cracking race. We saw the top 4 battling each other lap after lap for pretty much the whole half an hour. I think towards the end of the race, the last 5 minutes, Milden did kind of comfortably control that 2-second gap, but up until then it was anyone's out of those 4 to win it, and unfortunately for Das Cool, he was the one who binned it out of the 4. But P6 is still nothing to sniff about. It's still a cracking result We just wait for Lamaro, which is the sole car, to cross the finish line in P13. Good result there for the 83 Audi. So guys, time to get yourself another cuppa or a coffee or a cocktail. If you're having a cocktail, have an espresso martini, please. And I will see you back here in a couple of minutes' time for race number 2 of the night. So guys, this is your 2-minute warning just for race 2. As you may have noticed, the time of day has changed ever so slightly. We've got a later race start for race 2, so interesting to see how the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? You know, the lighting of the track impacts on the drivers for race 2. And the track temperature as well, it's worth noting, has also dropped, as you would expect, as it gets later on into the night, into the day, down to 21. So hopefully the drivers have accounted for that with their tyre pressures of their set for this race. And just a reminder, it is the same qualifying grid as it was for race 1. So you do have a pole sitter of Das Cool, Moritz in P2 and third, Milden fourth. So it's going to be an intriguing battle yet again in race 2 to see what those top 4 guys can do. I'm looking at the Discord, looks like the drivers, Das Cool and Milden, saying we're absolutely on the limit in that race. And we could see that from the commentary box, how close the cars are getting to the barriers on top of the mountain.
30 seconds.
As we see the headlights of the cars flicker on. So as the cars lead away for the formation lap for lap 2, as you'll see at the top of your screen, you've got an 8 PM start time for this race, hence why you've got the headlights on. It's going to be a cool looking race, I feel, as the sun is starting to set in the Australian sky. It's got a lovely shot there of the cars coming down mountain straight. Into turn 2, which is quarry. And starting the ascent of the mountain, turns 3 and 4, which is known as the cutting. So what I'll do, guys, I'll stay with Das Cool and the front 3 for the first probably half of the lap, and then I'll just switch back to the main menu. I do not like using this this particular view when spectating because it's still quite buggy on the console. I find if you start flipping around the camera angles between the drivers quickly, you really open yourself up to the game crashing. So I'm just going to stick with the spectator broadcast view and then go back to the normal main garage menu, so they don't want to risk any disconnections or crashes as we approach race 2. Das Cool leads them out of Forest Elbow. So here we go, people. I hope you've got your drinks ready and you're ready for another half hour of Super Sprint Sunday action here at Bathurst for round 4 of the FRL PlayStation 5 Super Sprint Sunday. As the drivers, as you'll see, are in their 2x2 formation. That's called leads them. A lovely shot of all the cars and the headlights on there as we have a 7 minutes past 8 race start, green flag as the drivers approach the start finish line for the final race of tonight.
Green light.
Green light, we're off. Green, green, green. That's cool for fan. Got a drive through. That's cool. Got a drive through penalty. It's not what he wants. I've got no words. I've got no words. Drive through penalty for That's cool. We've got drivers going off the back. We've got a car sport while we've got an Audi spinning off. We've got a McLaren off into the barrier. We'll find out who those are in a little while. It looks like car number 14 and car number 83 is off at the back of the grid. So That's Cool leads them away. Ams in P2, Milden in 3rd and Moritz in 4th. But the key thing here, guys, is That's Cool's picked up a drive-through penalty at the start of the race. That is extremely unfortunate. That is going to open the door to the other guys. I'll just wait for my tracker to update as we've got Chris. Car number 79 has dropped all the way to the back. That is unfortunate for Chris. He had a cracking result in the first race. So we'll just wait for the driver tracker to update. And to get an idea of the positions, I can bring you the top 10 after lap 1. So your top 10 so far is Das Call in 1st, but with a drive-through penalty. Ams is going to be your provisional race leader as he goes a little bit wide. So Milden, beg your pardon, Milden going wide. Moritz in 4th. David in 5th, but Moritz is putting the pressure on Milden here. Can he make a move into the final corner? He can't. As Mark comes in with a comment there, no luck or bad luck for Das tonight. It certainly seems that way. Sometimes you have to earn your luck, and sometimes the cookie does not crumble how you want it to crumble. Unfortunately, that's cool. That drive-through penalty is going to put him probably towards the back of the grid, I'd imagine. So we've got action all over the place. I'm just trying to pick out the best of the action, as looks like we've got David right on the back of Moritz, but he's not going to make a move up into the cut-in. So we'll see what else we've got going on behind us, as we've got King of the Hills, we've got Andy, Elysium, all battling each other hard as we start the climb up to the mountain. It's got Lego Man and Captain Beak side by side there. We've got Lego Man certainly got the position, I believe. Oh, no, sorry, beg your pardon, yeah. Captain Beak in the yellow Mercedes. I think it was Lego Man and Moss has not had a good start at all. That could have been the car we saw spinning on the first corner. He's dropped down a couple of places, or more than a couple of places, a handful of places down to P16. But yet again, that number 25 Lamborghini of Jetpack Nebula and back of the grid, already up to P17 on lap 2. And I certainly hope he's got his screen recording tonight, because I bet he's had an absolutely entertaining race to watch back on. Can he make the move on Gabri going into the chase? And we've got Moss and Lego Man as well up ahead, as Jetpacker does go down the inside on the brakes, late on the brakes, and he's gone round Jetpacker, he's gone round and he's collected Gabri. That's unfortunate. Always opens yourself up to that kind of thing when you go late on the brakes like that, but I mean it was just racing. That's just hard racing in my opinion. Probably have to see it again to make a confirmed judgment on that, but late on the brakes, down on the inside, it was just unfortunate for the two drivers there, but hopefully there's not too much damage so they can crack on. As we join on board with Frank, the 321 Mercedes up against Andy. So we've got the two Beamers. I said Mercedes, I meant Beamers. We've got the two Beamers up against each other, going into the cutting. Frank took back in behind. Let's just have a look at the top four. So that's not yet swerved that drive-through. Ams is your provisional race leader, who is a second ahead of Milden. This is going to be an intriguing race, guys. I hope so for the next 24 minutes for your sake. The battle between Ams and Milden is going to give us a cracking race to watch. Morex is provisional podium sitter, but he's under pressure from David, who had a fairly entertaining race in race one. He managed to make the move on Das, then lost it on the final corner. But he's a quick driver, David, if he can keep it clean in that Ferrari. Let's just have a look, see what's going on in the middle of the field as we join Shadow Lancer, Ollie Mack. Jetpack has managed to get that Lamborghini going again. And we've got a trio of McLarens, like a trio of desserts, a trio of McLarens coming down into the chase as the Lego Man and Rui battle for the top 20. Both picking the braking points nicely as they follow each other into the final corner. It's a lovely shot there though, with the lights and the McLarens. So Das Cool has he pitted? He has. That's a silly question because his drive-through marker's gone. So the question is, where has that brought Das Cool? As we see on the left hand side, the numbers just update. He's dropping down to 8th. I don't think that's final yet though. 10th potentially? We've got a blue flag out for a car there. I think he's put in 10th, yeah. So Das Cool from 1st to 10th. Do you know what, that is not too bad. I was expecting that to be worse actually, because we had a drive-through. I was thinking bottom half of the grid. I think, so the fact that he's only dropped down to 10th, I think is not too bad for him. He's got a car going wide there. Not sure who that is. I think it was a back mark potentially. So certainly getting darker now as the race progresses, as we've got Shadow Lancer is facing the wrong way. That's not the way you want to be facing. And hopefully he's going to have a clear track. He's got car number 5 coming down to him, which is Jax. Jax, oh, that's so close. It's like bowling. It's like watching 10-pin bowling on a Friday night. Jax comes in, sees a BMW facing the opposite way, slams on the brakes. Tank slapper comes on, and whew, they must have exchanged numbers. They were that close as both of them just kind of tickled each other as they sliding past. Luckily, I think they managed to avoid the wall. So, back to your top of the pack. Ams is now your race leader after taking the lead from Das Cool serving his penalty. And that gap is only a second to Milden. These two are like watching two heavyweight boxers go at it. We'll be trading the lap times, trading those purple sectors. It's getting darker. The conditions are going to be getting cooler as well. It's going to be a tricky 20 minutes. It's always hard when the conditions and the lighting does change like this. You know, you kind of, your braking points, your references change. You're not always relying on the same. You can't rely on the same bit of shadow or the same tree, shadow across the track, for example, you can really find yourself having to re-reference your braking points. The game is looking gorgeous tonight though, with this lighting, as we have the top two flying through the barriers like a roller coaster at night. I'm just going to jump down to Jetpacker because he is leading a right train as he is coming flying up to the back of Frank in the BMW, who's shortly followed by Gabri, who's followed by Moss, and then Rui. So a right little train at the top of the mountain as they start the descent down the dipper. Jetpacker yet again having a fantastic race. Already made up half the places on the grid. Switch back to David, and he's putting that pressure on Moritz. This is for the final podium position. Let's just check to see how Rob's getting on. Rob, who had a disastrous, it's fair to say, first race, but he is your championship leader before tonight kicked off to P8. So he's certainly stabilised to what he was in race one, and he'll be looking to bring that Bentley home. As it is, he's finding himself in a little bit of no man's land. But that's cool. Will be coming back through the field potentially. We've just joined the top two, as it looks like Ams has potentially made a mistake, as that gap from 1 second has come right down to 4 tenths, 3 tenths. And as you will see, you've now got 12 minutes into this race, you've got the top two absolutely having a hell of a battle here. Ans, who unfortunately didn't make the last two races, otherwise his position in the championship would have been a lot higher than where he currently sits. But Ans was your double race winner from the opening race of the season at Imola. But it must be said Milden was in a different car back then as well. He has since changed his car back to the Mercedes. So both of these drivers would have been higher up in the championship standings if it wasn't for their respective starts. So that gap has just increased ever so slightly to 6 tenths. Looks like whatever mistake it was, it has just stabilised, but Milden is still right there, and will be seeing the bright headlights of that Mercedes in his rearview mirror. And as we see in the background as well, we have David still piling the pressure on Moritz. So we've got two key battles going on track here. We've got the battle for first place between Ams and Milden. We've got the battle for the final podium position with Moritz and David. But of course, that won't be the only battle on track. And we'll just see what else we've got going on, as That's Cool is starting to creep up to the back of that Bentley. And in fact, he's got past Rob. So I think that track has not been updated yet, but I believe That's Cool has got past the 75 Bentley. He has indeed. So fairly evenly spread field at the moment. I'm just trying to pick up the action as we join on board with Lamaro and Shadow Lancer. These two are probably the closest pair apart from the top four. We'll just stay on board for these just to give you some action other than the top four for a moment at a time. I'll try and get coverage of the majority of positions across the grids, not just the top 3. So this is your battle for 14th between Shadow Lancer in the BMW and Lamaro in the Audi. It looks like he hasn't got no lights, but I think he has, where he's just not got his full beam on or something. And we were talking about AMS here, as a comment from Mark comes in on YouTube. But yeah, he's obviously got his lights on, but yeah, they don't seem that bright, do they? Looks like we've got Morex who's made a mistake. We have. Morex has made a mistake, and that's opened up the door to David. Just saw it in the background of a very slow McLaren. So Morex making a mistake there and losing that final podium position. The pressure of David must have came undone. So as we head into the second half and the final 30 minutes of this race, your race leader is number 15 Audi AMS, followed very closely behind by Milden. David, as we've just seen, overtake the spinning Morex in P3. Morex 4th. Storico having another cracking race. He's going to collect some good points for his championship total tonight if he maintains that 5th place. GT Jamie, who we didn't see anything of in the first race, it must be said, will quickly flick on board to pick him up in the Aston Martin, having a solid race in 6th place. Elysium is having a good race in 7th, but he's under pressure from Das Cool, who is making his way up. For those of you who have just joined, he did qualify pole position. Unfortunately picked up a drive-through penalty at the start of race 2 and dropped down to 10th, but he's now back up to 8th. As we've got GT Jamie going off at turn 1, making some confetti fly across the track of the sponsor, and that's going to lose him a couple of places. So GT Jamie probably getting a little bit the Aston Martin too much out on the curb, and he's just lost it. And you know what, guys, while I was watching all of that, we've seen a change of position for the top spot. So we've seen Milden overtake AMS somehow. Sorry, apologies for missing that. We were just trying to get some of the other action going on the track. I'm conscious of not always sticking on the top 2 guys, as we've got 28 other drivers. So that is your position change to the lead. I'm not sure what happened, whether AMS made a mistake or not, I don't know. Those two were exchanging lap times back and forth as we've got more debris over the track from one of the sponsorship borders. Got a slow McLaren as well, which is a 525. Which is the McLaren of Lego Man in P16. Hopefully he keeps out of the way as all these cars come flying past him. And he's keeping off the track, but that's going to be distracting the drivers, I'd imagine. So, with the position change, what has AMS got in his locker? Can he keep the pressure on Milden? Has he got any more pace to retake that top spot? As we've got Lego Man completely stopped now at the chase, unless he's asking one of the spectators the directions to the nearest racetrack. He's back up and running again. Oh, he's taking a leaf out of the NASCAR book, I think, by riding the wall. So, final 10 minutes of the race, guys. Let's see what drivers can make the moves, where the movers and shakers are. Hope everyone's had a good Sunday and a good weekend in general. I know I've had a very good Sunday as I witnessed the mighty Arsenal beat Chelsea away from home at lunchtime today. Special mention to Axel Racing, who's hopefully still watching the stream and would have loved that comment and is now probably painfully dying inside as I've just reminded him of the fact that Arsenal beat Chelsea today. As we jump on board with MPL and Captain Beak, I don't think that's obviously for position. As we see Chris at the back as well with a stop-go penalty. He's still running, it must be said. Running a different track by the looks of it. It's, oh, blimey! I think we just had a BMW fly off into the planet, a different planet. He's not going to recover from that one, is he? That's him done for the night. He did mention before the race he had a mountain of spag bol for dinner. Well, I think after that accident, the spag bol would have re-emerged, I reckon. Still got a yellow flag out into the final sector. We've still got Lego Man doing 1 mile per hour, half a mile per hour on the final corner. He's stopped now. I'm not sure what he's doing there. He's now returned to the pits, so that's him retired from the race. We'll just jump on board with 4th place Morex as he's got Storicoat. It's not Storicoat. I don't know who that is, and that must be that marker. So it is not for position. I believe that is Frank. It is, it's Frank in P16. He's flying. Yes, that's cool. Is now right on the rear of that number 7 Porsche of Elysium. As you're going to get him on the braking zone going into the chase, getting a little bit squiggly there. It's down the inside. Does he have a look down the inside? He does, but he keeps his nose out of it. Thought better of it, of doing a complete Danny Rick send down the inside. And we just join on board behind as well as GT Jamie, who we saw make a mistake a couple of laps ago. He has stabilised his position with P8. And as you'll see by the timings, it looks like Milden in the last 5 minutes is yet again starting to check out with a race win. That gap's gone from half a second to 2.3. Axel Racing, letting the little teams have their 50 minutes. It's just the little teams, mate, who are top of the league, let's just say that. A mighty Arsenal, London will always be red. Oh, that's unfortunate to hear, mate. Rather than the wheel disconnect. That's very unfortunate. Unlucky, man. It's probably the most frustrating thing, isn't it? Probably alongside a server disconnect or an internet disconnect issue when you've been practicing for a race and get yourself ready, and then either your wheel or internet fails like that. It is, I can completely appreciate, extremely frustrating. So looks like Das Cool has managed to make his way past Elysian for P6. So I think he finished 6th in the first race as well, Das Cool, after making a mistake on the top of the mountain. So looks like he's going to be on for back-to-back 6th place finishes here, which I think ultimately he will be disappointed with, given the fact that he was on pole position. But nonetheless, it will be P6 for Das Cool. If it stays like this, it must be said there is still 4 minutes left, and with GT racing, anything could happen. So Milden probably meeting a back marker just where you did not want to meet a back marker, which is at the top of the mountain. And he's given them the old flashing of the headlights. Jesus, blimey, that could have been horrendous for Milden, as that BMW hit the barrier, and that could have been catastrophic for the race leader. He's somehow managed to come through that unscathed. But he would have no doubt lost some time to AMS. That was the number 5 BMW. So who was that? Number 5 BMW. That is Jack Slayton, the green BMW. So he was the back marker who hit the barrier ahead of Milden and somehow didn't collect him. As Milden's gone off, we've gone on board with the race leader, and Ben Milden has gone off in the Mercedes, and that's opened the door to AMS. This is all happening here. It's also opened the door to David. So the commentator's touch joining on board just as we see the race lead changing yet again. So big news here, guys. AMS takes the lead of the race with 2 minutes to go, as Ben Milden looks like he just potentially went a little bit too deep into the chase and lost it. This is going to be an absolute cracking end to the race, because David is not too far behind either. He's actually alongside. David is alongside AMS here for the race lead. It's side by side going into the turn 2. As AMS has got into the wall. AMS has got into the wall. David has took the lead. Milden goes through into 2nd place. This has all changed. It has all changed for the race lead. You've got the flashing of the headlights. But you've currently got a new race leader, the 4th different race leader of this race too, with David Jr. in the 303 Ferrari taking the lead of the race. With 2 minutes to go, he leads Milden up the hill. He's gone off, went back to 3rd. He's now back up to 2nd, but he's now, if Milden comes back to win this race, what an absolute story that would be. But let's don't rule out AMS. AMS is back up and running. I don't know how much damage he's got. It looked like he had a fair wallop, but unbelievable. And last 5 minutes to race 2. This is GT racing. This is what FRL on the PlayStation 5 can throw up. David will be absolutely sweating buckets in that cockpit of that Ferrari now. I can tell you that if that was me, I wouldn't be able to brake and accelerate, and my foot would be jiggling like mad. So David out of Forest Albo, leading the podium 3, down into the chase. Really getting dark now, with 1 minute and 20 left. But Ben Milden, who we thought threw away the race lead on the previous lap, finds himself in a position where he can fight for the 1st place again. He's been giving a lifeline because of AMS throwing away his opportunity. He must have had a slow
Alright, man, the leader is on the final lap.
Final lap, the flashing of the headlights. But just going back to AMS briefly, he must have had a slow exit out of the 1st corner, Hell's Corner, because David found himself side by side going into the cutting. So here we go, guys. This is it, the final lap. As Milden pulls out to the left-hand side of the track, they go side by side. It's Ferrari power versus Mercedes power. Who's going to be the latest on the brakes? David's got the inside. As Milden is on the outside of the cutting, David's still on the inside. Is he going to squeeze him? He is. They're still side by side. This is unbelievable. David now finds himself from the inside of turn 3, but Milden's got up ahead. Milden has retook the lead on the final lap. This is just unbelievable. Unbelievable racing here. Can they keep it clean? Can David keep this pressure on? Ams will be hoping they both take each other out. Let's be brutally honest here. We've got a little bit of lag as Ben looks like he's makes a mistake. That's going to really put him under pressure now. David's got to keep it cool. He's got to keep it cool here. He's got to keep as close as possible and get a good exit out of Forest Elbow. If he can get a good exit going into the chase, he can potentially make a move in the braking zone. He can't overcook it here. He's got to keep nice and stable behind the number 1. He's just a little bit too far back, I think, but the slipstream can do wonders. He's a little bit too far back, I think, to make a move. I think we're going to see. Yes, Ben pulls to the right to try and break the slipstream a little bit. Yeah, he's a little bit too far back. He's only got 2 corners to go. So what an absolutely amazing end to the race we've got here. We had 3 position changes in the final 2 laps of the race as Ben Milden brings it home to win race 2. What an absolute cracking victory. David in 2nd, Ams in 3rd. What a race. I'm absolutely lost for words there to try and keep up with all what was happening then. Drama on a Sunday evening as Storica comes home with a brilliant P4, Morex in P5, That's Cool in P6, a double 6th position as LSU has lost it. LSU has lost it on the last lap. Nothing from the door to GT Jamie. Nico's gone through as well. I think Rob's too far behind. So Nico comes home in 9th. GT Jamie in 7th. LSU, who's lost 2 places on the final 2 corners. Rob in P10. N-Specs. We've got Frank who finished P14, Rui P15, Andy P17, Lamaro P19, Gabri 20th. So we've got a couple of drivers just still to finish this race. We're on board with N-Specs who's coming home in P11. But what a race, guys. I think that race 2 was worthy. That last 10 minutes was worthy of a like. So make sure you drop a like on the video, drop a subscribe button, give it a good old whack, because that was an amazing end to the race. I'm going to need a strong drink after that. Unfortunately, I've only got Fanta. So, just to bring you the full order from race 2. We've got Milden in 1st, David in 2nd, Ams in 3rd, Storico 4th, Morex 5th, Das Cool 6th, GT Jamie 7th, Nico 8th, Elysium 9th, Rob's 10th, N-Specs 11th, MPL 12th, this has changed actually, sorry, Shadow Lancer 12th, MPL 13th, Frank 14th, Jack Slater in 15th, Captain Beak 16th, Lamaro P17, Gabri 18th, Gilas 19th, and Legoman rounds out the top 20. And then we have Ollie Mack in P21, Darren in 22nd, Jetpacker, who, as we said, he was up at one point, I think, up into P12 in race 2, so he obviously made a mistake, dropped back to 23rd. King of the Hills 24th, Moss, disappointing race for him in 25th, and likewise a disappointing race for Chris, who finished dead last with the wooden spoon. So that is your order for race 2. What a couple of races we've had. The highlight will have to be the last 5 minutes of race 2. Penultimate lap, the race lead being changed, Milden making a mistake, dropping back to 3rd, Ams taking the lead, David getting alongside, and Ams then losing the lead into the cutting right-hander. And then on the next lap, the final lap, Milden taking the inside into turn 5, taking the lead. So that is the action for tonight from round 4 of the FRL Racing League PS5 Pro-Am Pure SimGear Super Sprint Sunday at Bathurst. Next week, just checking the calendar, we'll be at Zolder. So that is November, just double check the dates, I was about to say November the 13th, but I don't believe that's correct. There it is. November the 13th, Remembrance Sunday. So we'll be hopefully see you guys joining us live on the stream next week at the same time, live from Zolder. As always, it's been a pleasure. Hope you've enjoyed the races and have a cracking week. See you all next time. Bye bye.